I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
I would like to know, like over the course of your life, what was the biggest insight that helped you along in meditation?
To be honest, probably the most important thing when I was younger is the realization that I could not do this by myself. That I needed somebody to mentor me, to show me, somebody who had been over the path. I wasn't looking for, I went to swamis and rishis and all kinds of people, but I wasn't looking for that. I didn't want to become a Hindu. I wasn't a Hindu. I was born in the Bronx, for God's sake, in the South Bronx. But I had such a deep need for a spiritual life, but somebody who can show me how to have a spiritual life and also live in the world, be human. And it took 9 years, but that constant reminder kept me going. And then when I met my teacher, Rudy, which seemingly was an accident that wasn't really an accident. It sparked something in me that said, yes, I have found what I'm looking for, and now I'm going to learn it. And it wasn't easy. He was a constant reminder to me, which was a really good reminder, that the only person I was really up against was myself. And I needed somebody to show me how to get from point A to point X, and it was, that constant feeling, I haven't arrived yet. I need to grow. What do I have to do to continue to grow? That was things that were, and then there were other things. I was in an airplane crash with my teacher. I don't know if you know about that, but he died in that airplane crash. And at that minute, I had to make a very real decision. And the first thing I really said to myself, Stuart, when I realized that he had gone, is now you'll see what the last 6 years were really about. Did you learn what he had to teach you? Can you continue to do this inner work? Grow with it. And I was about a third of the way there then. I had so much work to do on myself, that I took it upon myself to do it. Whatever I had to do, I was willing to do, because my need to get to God was above everything else. So there have been milestones. There have been, markers along the way, and many of them. And every single one of them, almost every single one of them, could have stopped my growth, or it could have done the opposite, which it did, made me work harder on myself. So you get back to a simple thing, which is in every human being, and that's need. How deeply does a person need to have a spiritual life? And if that need is real, then everything becomes a marker on a pathway that gets them closer to God. More deeper, to open more, to grow more. And that's the only way I can answer that question. Was there one? Yes, the day I met Rudy, was like a complete life changer, And then after that, so many other things. The day he sent me to Denton, Texas, and he wanted me to spend 3 weeks there to help develop a meditation center. And I'll never forget, 6 months later, he came down there and I said to him, Rudy, this is a hell of a 3 weeks. And he said to me, you're on your 4th day. It took 9 years to work out 3 weeks. So what I'm saying is everything, it's an interesting world we live in, because everything becomes a reason to do or a reason not to do. It's either or. And it depends entirely upon your need. And if the need is real, then you do it. It's very clear what you have to do if the need is real. So, I can't say there was look, I can go into this. There's so many milestones in my life that set me on this path. And but it gets back to, what is your real need? Is your need to make money? Is your need to have success, in the physical, material world? Is your need to have a marriage, a relationship? I run up against every one of these needs. I mean, I've had students who couldn't get a boyfriend or girlfriend, and 6 months of doing this meditation, they became beautiful. And they'd find a girlfriend and a boyfriend, and I never saw them again. That was their need. And I said, well, I fulfilled karma here, I helped them get what they really wanted. So it gets back to that. What is a person's need? My need is clear, It's been clear since I was 16 years old.
I was listening to a video about Babaji, and there was a story of somebody who had gone to Babaji, and Babaji said, if you really trust me, jump over the cliff. But it was a cliff. If he jumped, he would die. And he had so much faith, he just jumped. And I was thinking, wow, I wonder if I would have that much faith. It's that.
Why listen to Babaji, I mean, no, that's a real story. This actually.
Yeah. But he didn't die. Somehow he got rescued. he just had complete faith.
If I told you to jump off a cliff, the best thing you could tell me is
I wouldn't do it
again, I never want to see you again, what kind of, anyway, what?
No, it's just, even if it's just symbolic, let's take it as a symbolic thing. To have that much faith, I still have to grow there. That's for sure.
My teacher said, go to Denton, Texas.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had lived in Paris, I had lived in Rome, I had lived in, Marrakesh, I lived all over the world, in Greece. And he asked me to go to Denton, Texas, in order to run a meditation center. I went, and I did it. I did it while he was alive, and then he passed on. I continued to doing it till literally there was nothing else I could do there that would help me grow spiritually. Nothing. And that's when I moved back to New York. I needed a bigger test in my life. But look, my teacher did things to me, well, not quite like jump off a cliff, but it was kind of like that.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
He said to me, he told me, I want you to go and get a college degree. Now, honestly, that was the last thing in the world I ever wanted to do. I had no interest in going back to college. I didn't like it, but I did it. And he said, when you get your college degree, great things, remarkable things are going to happen to you. So when I got my college degree, I went to him and I said, Rudy, I got a degree. He said, go get a master's degree.
No.
So I said to him, what? He said, I don't care, just get a master's degree. So, I went to the meditation hall. This is a true story. And I sat down with a picture of Swami Nityananda, who was always my mentor in every difficult situation. And Rudy not only told me, I want you to get a master's degree, but he said, I don't want you to teach in the ashram anymore. And that to me was the single most important thing I did in my life. And he took it away from me. And I had to get a mat. So I'm sitting there with Nityananda, and he comes out of my heart, and Babaji sitting in front of me. And he said to me, so what has Rudy done to you? He said, if you go and get a master's degree, he will be responsible to teach you everything he has ever learned in terms of spiritual development. If you listen to him. He said, and what has he done to you? He's taking your teachings away. It's the first time in your life that you can grow. The tree has been plumed, you can grow from the ground up. Your teaching over the last year was a lot to do with your ego, your wanting to be there. He took it away from you. So what? So 10 minutes after he did this, I went back to him and I gave him a big hug and I said, thank you.
Wow.
And he told me, amazing, he said, I didn't think you'd get it this quickly.
10 minutes is quick.
Really, I have a really good teacher. You understand? You listen, how can this make me grow? How can this make me get closer to God? Whatever it is, whether it's what the teacher asks you to do, what life asks you to do, what your family asks you to do, what, how does this help me get closer to God? Not, oh my God, who does he think he is? And what about blah. And before you know it, you've thrown away some master who is there to help you get your spiritual enlightenment that God put into your life to help you get your enlightenment. How does this work? How can I use this situation, any situation, to get closer to God? And you'll find an answer. I always found an answer. I always have found an answer that took me to a whole new level in my life and a whole deeper level of understanding what spiritual practice is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, what is he? He wants me to go to Denton, Texas. Well, fuck him. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to go to Paris. That's where I want to be. It's no good. What can I do to grow because of what is being asked?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think a teacher should ask you to jump off a cliff, but as long as it worked for the guy, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And another question, you always say at the end of the class, thank you for teaching me. And how exactly do we teach you? Because we're sitting here quietly.
By being here, doing your inner work, asking, for help to grow spiritually. That makes demands on me that force me to go very deep inside myself. And that's the greatest servant a student can ever do to a teacher, for a teacher. That need inside to grow. Look, the meeting with a teacher, it's always some kind of accidental thing that's not accidental. And you understand? And then it's what we do with that amazing thing that has just taken place in our lives. What do we do with it? We shrug our shoulders and say, oh, I had people tell me that, well, I don't want to come to your classes anymore because you require, a COVID vaccination for anyone to come to your classes. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go study with somebody else, But they always used to tell me that what they learned from me was the deepest thing they've ever learned from anybody, So I finally decided about 3 weeks ago, all right, people don't have to get COVID vaccinations. All they have to do is have a test before they come to my in-person class. That's it. Just test that they don't have COVID. No big deal. It takes 15 minutes. So these people lost out on this. Oh, well, you don't do this, you don't do that. I said, well, it's just, it's ridiculous what people manufacture in their brain to kill a relationship with somebody who can give them their life. And then there's also me. Maybe I didn't go deep enough to connect with these people, It tells me I have to grow. I have to go deeper to make a connection with people so that it really nurtures them in a place where they really, find a path to God.
Now, because we, as students, we get really carried by you. Huh? I feel a big difference from before to now. I notice I'm less crabby.
So, look.
have to build this up yourself, right? I mean,
well, you have to do your work on your own as well. You have to, you can set up a little altar with a picture, and once a day you sit down and do this meditation for a half hour. That gives you the ability to sustain it. And so it's a combination. Teacher needs disciples. Disciples need teachers. It's the fastest path to spiritual enlightenment. It's one of the hardest things for people to do because it requires surrender. It requires letting go. It requires learning how to listen and not know better. It requires so many things that people aren't used to doing. The ego can't get in the way. You've got to surrender the ego. You've got to surrender a lot of things that you want to do. I mean, look, I do 7 of these classes a week. I mean, I could go to the theater, the movies. I mean, there's a million things I could do, I can, and I do these 7 classes a week, online. And I have 2 classes that are just in-person classes a week. A lot of stuff that one can do in life. Dinners, parties, whatever, So you make your choice about how you want to spend your time. I come to more classes here than anybody. And I probably eat less than all of you.
and is there a text you want us to read or?
Yeah, I have written a lot of books on this subject. I'll recommend it, okay?
Okay.
You go to Amazon, you can get a book called The Deepest Surrender. A book called Navigating the River of Time.
Navigating the River of Time. Okay.
Yeah, you just put my name in Amazon, all this will come up. Another one called The Lotus Flower in Muddy Waters. Another one called The Mystical Ferry Boat and Other Stories. That's interesting because in that mystical ferry boat is the story of the airplane crash that I was in with Rudy. That's a very interesting book. And others, Moving On, it's a bunch of aphorisms I've written, Finding Happiness in a Changed World. I've written a lot of books.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And then there's Rudy's book, Spiritual Cannibalism, which is a really good book.
I don't get that one. I read half of it. I'm not with it yet.
Okay. Well, try mine, and after mine, go back to his.
I think so. Yeah. Let's do an introduction first. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, mine are a little simpler to read. They're very
Good.
literary, but they're simpler to read. But I suggest those books, and they'll help you. Also, I suggest I'm doing a blog now on my website.
True. Yeah.
And the most recent ones are about Tantra.
I wanted to ask you about that Tantra. I know nothing about blog. Tantra.
Go to my
Just
blog.
read the blog? Okay.
Then you can ask me questions.
Okay.
Not called a blog. We changed it. I didn't like the word blog, so we changed it to posts.
Okay, posts.
It's called posts. And you just click there and they all come up.
Okay. Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, I like the smiles on everybody's faces. You don't see that too often in life. People walk around, they're so grumpy and in their heads and thinking, how terrible everything is. It's nice to see smiles on people's eyes that have a twinkle in them, Right. Does anyone else have a question? Leisha, you don't have a question? Come on.
I do, but it's still about spider eggs.
It's not about spider eggs? Or it is about spider eggs?
It is about spider eggs.
Okay. Well, don't hatch them and, fry them for breakfast. Okay. What about spider eggs, dude?
Well, it's just that I don't know. I couldn't help pondering, and because the theme for me in the last while has really been about how to be with the, atrocities that happen in the world, and how to, uh, you know, I've been learning how to grow my capacity. And I don't know, just with what happened to the spiders, like just, it was nothing for me, but they lost their entire lineage, all their years work of making a family. And like it's like a, if that was a human, we'd be absolutely, devastated, really a tragedy, anger, so many emotions. And I don't know what the spiders feel, but I don't know.
Well, I can suggest one thing, just, you have a place in your heart for spiders, just keep it open, love them, and don't ever kill spider eggs, don't crush, let the spiders breed. I mean, I lived in, Woodstock, New York. I had a house on top of a mountain, big house, huge, 7,000 square foot house I lived in. And every time I'd walk out in the morning, there was spider webs everywhere on the building, And I had to knock them down, or, it would have gotten impossible. I couldn't have walked out of the door of my house. I didn't kill them. I just got the webs, let them build their webs somewhere else. So I don't know. I mean, look, William Blake said, William Blake, the poet, everything that lives is holy. And this is true. Spiders are holy. Everything is sacred. Things become not sacred because we twist them around in our brain. And then things stop being sacred. Life stops being sacred. But everything that's alive is evolving and getting closer to God. So I understand your compassion for spider eggs. And I just don't kill spiders, ants, creatures that are also serving a purpose in the world. But I remember reading that by William, everything that lives is holy. It's true.
But nature also seems to have this surrender that we don't have, like, because I guess they sort of, tragedy happens constantly. I mean, everyone's murdering everyone else in nature. And
the problem, well, they're not murdering in nature, they're living and surviving, and that's how they survive. Nature's a gigantic restaurant, of animals and creatures surviving off of each other. But nature would always be there. I mean, look, I went to Brazil. I went to the Amazon in Brazil, took a boat ride up the Amazon for 5 days. And then I was shown the areas of the Amazon that were being desecrated, destroyed, literally. Thousands and thousands of acres of land trees were being cut down. And I saw this right in front of my eyes. All this land and they were making soybean plantations. I mean, this is not only destroying the Amazon, but it's an attempt to destroy the world, because look, the world needs places like the Amazon just to suck up the carbon dioxide that's given off in the world, and it's horrible. But what you see, honestly, is a manifestation of the insanity that is inside human beings. That's really where the problem starts. If people would, I keep saying this over and over, if people would fix themselves and just really transform all of that bullshit and chaos inside them, that neurosis, that greed is the big one inside them. into Shakti, into energy, into an open heart, into balance, into foundation, all of this madness would stop. So it has to start somewhere, and it has to start with each and every human being. Recognizing that if they want this insanity to stop them, they have to fix themselves. Now, look, there are 8 billion people on this planet. God has a big job, getting 8 billion people to fix themselves. But that really is the problem. That's the key to the whole situation. And I realized this years ago, but at the same time, I can't get swept away emotionally and mentally with all the craziness that goes. I have to keep fixing me, growing me, and passing on anything I have learned about this stuff for people who want to learn it. Because there's a place on this planet for every creature to live, to thrive. I mean, and everything in life lives off of everything else. People say, I don't eat meat. I don't want to, well, they eat vegetables. They kill vegetables, I mean, everybody is living off of everything else. All we have to do is learn how to be grateful for what's provided for us and to not do damage, not to destroy life here, but to whatever we need to live, okay. But I wrote on one of my blogs, it's really interesting. I said, the greed in people is so profound that it's destroying, it's creating hurricanes and all this stuff that goes on in nature, fires and droughts and, and it's the greed to suck out of nature every single thing we can possibly suck out of nature. And nature's responding with COVID, monkeypox, droughts, hurricanes, and it's telling us, stop, because it's just going to get worse. But greed is so, people make more money than they can spend in 1,000 lifetimes. And yet it's more and more. How much can I extract out of nature? And nature's finally had it. I mean, we have hurricanes and, it destroyed Florida a week ago, That's where it comes from. It's human greed that's creating this madness. And the horror of it really is nobody learns. Nobody learns. It's just, what can I get? How much? And, the work is to change inside and to finally learn to be grateful for whatever is given to one so that we can live our lives and not to trespass on things that, just as greed. One of the 8 deadly sins, greed. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, well, thank you all. God bless you all. There'll be a class Thursday. I'm looking forward to. I know most of you live in Israel and Poland, all over Italy, but I do have in-person classes, and you're all invited to come to them. So if you ever can see your way to New York or Connecticut, I have in-person classes that I do hands-on healing work with people, etc. So God bless you all. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Thursday.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.